You're the kind of person people underestimate at first glance. Not because you're weak, not because you're incapable, but because your strength doesn't arrive with noise. It doesn't need attention. It doesn't walk into a room demanding respect. You carry yourself with calmness. You listen more than you speak. You avoid unnecessary conflict. You give people chances they probably don't deserve. You forgive things most people would hold on to for years. And that's exactly why so many people get confused about who you really are. They mistake your kindness for softness. They mistake your patience for fear. They mistake your silence for weakness. And sooner or later, someone always decides to test you. Not because you've done anything wrong, but because human nature has a strange habit. Many people respect power only after they see it. Until then, they keep pushing. A little more, then a little more, then a little more. They cross lines, ignore boundaries, take your generosity for granted, and all the while, you stay calm, you stay composed, you keep giving them opportunities to correct themselves. Because unlike most people, your first instinct isn't destruction, it's understanding. You try to see the bigger picture. You try to understand what they're going through. You try to avoid turning small problems into permanent wars. And that's why people never see the danger hiding beneath your restraint. Because the most dangerous person isn't the one who loses control quickly. The most dangerous person is the one who has complete control over themselves. Think about it. Anyone can explode. Anyone can scream. Anyone can react emotionally. That doesn't require strength. What requires strength is staying calm when you're angry, remaining disciplined when you're hurt, maintaining your character when someone is trying to destroy it. You've spent years developing that ability, years learning how to manage your emotions, years teaching yourself not to react to every insult, every betrayal, every disappointment. And because of that, your power doesn't show itself every day. It stays hidden, waiting, not because you're looking for conflict, but because you've learned something most people never understand. Real power doesn't need to prove itself constantly. A lion doesn't spend all day reminding the forest that it's a lion. Its presence alone is enough. The problem is, some people only understand lessons when consequences arrive. And when they finally push you too far, everything changes. Not in a dramatic way. Not with chaos. Not with emotional outbursts. That's what makes it frightening. You don't become irrational. You become focused. Extremely focused. The same energy you once used to support someone becomes the energy you use to remove them from your life. The same loyalty you offered them disappears. The same access they enjoyed vanishes. The same patience they relied upon no longer exists. And suddenly they realize something. The person they thought would always tolerate their behavior is gone. Not physically, mentally, emotionally, energetically, gone. Most people expect revenge to look loud, but some of the strongest forms of revenge are completely silent. No arguments. No explanations. No announcements. Just distance. Just absence. Just the realization that they permanently lost access to someone valuable. And here's what makes this so powerful. When you finally reach that point, you're not acting from emotion anymore. You're acting from clarity. There's a huge difference. Emotion wants to hurt people back. Clarity simply removes what no longer belongs. Emotion seeks chaos. Clarity seeks peace. Emotion creates battles. Clarity ends them. That's why your response becomes so effective, because it's not driven by temporary anger. It's driven by permanent understanding. You finally see the situation for what it is. You finally stop making excuses for people. You finally stop convincing yourself they'll change. You finally stop sacrificing your peace to protect someone else's comfort. And the moment that happens, your energy becomes unstoppable. Because all the energy that was once wasted on tolerating disrespect suddenly becomes available for something else. Growth, purpose, success, transformation. Most people never realize how much power they bought by constantly carrying toxic situations. It's like trying to run while carrying a backpack full of rocks. You can still move, but not at your full speed, not at your full potential, not at your full power. Then one day, you put the backpack down, and suddenly, everything changes. You move faster, think clearer, sleep better, focus harder, create more, achieve more, become more. The fuel was always there. The problem wasn't a lack of energy. The problem was where the energy was being invested. Every betrayal taught you something. Every disappointment strengthened something. Every moment of disrespect revealed something. At the time, it felt painful. At the time, it felt unfair. At the time, it felt like life was working against you. But looking back, you begin to see a pattern. Every difficult experience was forcing you to become stronger. Every challenge was sharpening your awareness. Every obstacle was building resilience. The people who tried to break you ended up building you. The people who underestimated you ended up motivating you. The people who doubted you ended up fueling you. And that's one of the greatest secrets successful people understand. Pain is energy. Disappointment is energy. Rejection is energy. Betrayal is energy. The question is never whether that energy exists. The question is where it goes. Some people use it to destroy themselves. Others use it to transform themselves. And you've slowly learned how to make that shift. Instead of obsessing over who hurt you, you focus on who you're becoming. Instead of chasing validation, you chase growth. Instead of proving people wrong, you prove yourself right. That mindset changes everything, because now your future is no longer controlled by your past. It's powered by it. The very experiences that were supposed to stop you become the experiences that push you forward. And something remarkable starts happening. You become harder to manipulate, harder to intimidate, harder to control. Not because you've become cold, not because you've become cruel, but because you've become aware. You recognize patterns faster. You see intentions more clearly. You notice red flags earlier. You stop ignoring what your instincts are trying to tell you. For years, you gave people the benefit of the doubt. Now you give yourself the benefit of awareness. That's not bitterness. That's wisdom. And wisdom changes the way you move through life. You stop chasing people who don't value you. You stop forcing connections that don't belong. You stop fighting battles that don't deserve your energy. You stop explaining yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. Because you've learned a truth that many people spend their entire lives avoiding. Not everyone deserves access to you. Not everyone deserves your loyalty. Not everyone deserves your time. And definitely not everyone deserves your trust. The moment you truly understand that, your entire life begins to shift. The people who once drained you lose their influence. The situations that once controlled your emotions lose their power. The fears that once held you back start fading away, because you're no longer living from a place of need. You're living from a place of choice. And that is where real strength begins. That is where real confidence is born. Not from knowing everyone likes you, not from knowing everyone agrees with you, but from knowing exactly who you are, even when they don't. There comes a moment in life when you stop asking why certain people betrayed you. You stop asking why they lied, why they underestimated you, why they disappeared when you needed them most, why they only appreciated your value after losing access to it. Because eventually, you realize something. People can only meet you at the level of their own awareness. Some people recognize loyalty, others exploit it. Some people recognize kindness, others see it as an opportunity. Some people recognize strength, others mistake it for weakness. And no amount of explaining can change that. No amount of proving yourself can change that. No amount of sacrificing your peace can change that. The truth becomes painfully simple. People reveal themselves through patterns, not promises, not words, not intentions, patterns. And once you start paying attention to patterns, life becomes much clearer. You stop getting surprised by behavior you've already seen 100 times. You stop expecting honesty from dishonest people. You stop expecting respect from disrespectful people. You stop expecting loyalty from those who have never demonstrated it. Instead, you adjust. Quietly, calmly, strategically. And this is where another level of your power begins to emerge. Because most people think strength means holding on, Sometimes strength means letting go of people, letting go of expectations, letting go of old versions of yourself, letting go of the need to be understood by everyone. That last one changes everything. For years, you may have wasted energy trying to explain your heart, trying to explain your intentions, trying to explain your decisions, trying to explain your boundaries, trying to explain why certain things mattered to you. But eventually, you realize that people committed to misunderstanding you will never be convinced by why explanations. They've already chosen their story. They've already decided who you are, and no amount of evidence will change a conclusion that was never based on truth in the first place. So you stop chasing understanding, and something incredible happens. Freedom, real freedom, the kind that doesn't depend on anyone's approval, the kind that doesn't require validation, the kind that allows you to sleep peacefully at night, regardless of who agrees with your keen choices. Because now, you're no longer carrying the responsibility of managing other people's perceptions. You're carrying something far more valuable: self-respect. And self-respect has a strange effect on life. The moment it grows stronger, certain doors begin closing. People who benefited from your lack of boundaries become uncomfortable. People who enjoyed manipulating you become frustrated. People who expected unlimited access to your time become confused. People who thought they could always return whenever convenient suddenly discover things are different now, very different, because the version of you they once knew no longer exists. The person who tolerated everything, gone. The person who ignored red flags, gone. The person who abandoned their own needs to keep everyone else comfortable, gone. And in that absence, a stronger version appears, a wiser version, a more disciplined version, a version that understands the value of their own energy. Most people don't realize how precious energy actually is. They treat it like an unlimited resource, giving it away to drama, giving it away to negativity, giving it away to pointless arguments, giving it away to people who contribute nothing but stress. Then they wonder why they feel exhausted, why they feel stuck, why they feel disconnected from their purpose. The answer is simple. Energy flows where attention goes. If your attention is trapped in chaos, your energy follows. If your attention is trapped in resentment, your energy follows. If your attention is trapped in people who don't deserve access to your mind, your energy follows. But when you finally take that energy back, everything starts changing. Not overnight, but steadily, powerfully. You begin investing in yourself, your goals, your future, your growth, your vision, and suddenly, the same person who once felt emotionally drained becomes unstoppable, because now your focus has direction, and focused energy is one of the most powerful forces in existence. Think about sunlight. Spread across the ground, it feels warm. Concentrated through a lens, it creates fire. Human energy works exactly the same way. Scattered focus creates average results. Focused attention creates transformation. That's why so many people are shocked when they see your evolution. They remember the old version, the version that doubted themselves, the version that stayed quiet, the version that accepted less than they deserved, the version that questioned their own worth. But they don't realize something. Pressure changes people, and you've survived pressure most people never saw. The sleepless nights, the disappointments, the silent battles, the moments when nobody knew how much you were carrying, the moments when nobody knew how much strength it took just to keep moving forward. Those experiences leave marks, not visible marks, internal marks, the kind that reshape character, the kind that create resilience, the kind that build an unshakable foundation. That's why you no longer panic the way you once did. You've survived too much. You've learned too much. You've grown too much. The things that once overwhelmed you now become lessons. The things that once intimidated you now become opportunities. The things that once broke your confidence now strengthen it. Because every challenge has been teaching you the same message. You are far stronger than you think, far more capable than you realize, far more resilient than you've been giving yourself credit for. And the evidence is simple. You're still here. After everything, You're still standing, still moving, still growing, still becoming. That alone says more about your strength than any words ever could. Many people quit when life becomes difficult. Many people surrender when circumstances become uncomfortable. Many people abandon their dreams the moment resistance appears. But you kept going, maybe slowly, maybe imperfectly, maybe with doubts, maybe with fear. But you kept going. And persistence creates something powerful. Momentum. Once momentum begins building, everything changes. Small victories become bigger victories. Small improvements become major improvements. Small disciplines become life-changing habits. And before long, you start looking back at your old life and barely recognize the person you used to be. Not because you've become someone else, because you've become more of who you were always meant to be, without the distractions, without the limitations, without the people convincing you to play small, without the fears that once controlled your decisions. And perhaps the most dangerous thing about your transformation is this: you no longer need revenge. You no longer need recognition. You no longer need people to admit they were wrong about you, because you've discovered something far more powerful: results. Results speak a language everyone understands. Success speaks without words. Growth speaks without words. Peace speaks without words. Confidence speaks without words. A fulfilled life speaks without words. And nothing confuses doubters more than seeing someone thrive without their approval. Nothing frustrates negativity more than watching someone rise without seeking validation. Nothing silences criticism more effectively than consistent progress. That's why your greatest response is no longer an argument. It's evolution. Your greatest statement is no longer a speech. It's your life. Your greatest proof is no longer what you say. It's what you become. And as you continue moving forward, a new realization begins to settle into your mind. Every challenge had a purpose. Every setback carried a lesson. Every betrayal revealed a truth. Every obstacle developed a strength. Nothing was wasted. Not the pain, not the struggle, not the disappointment, not the loneliness, not the pressure. It all became fuel. Fuel for growth, fuel for wisdom, fuel for discipline, fuel for transformation. And that's why the people who once underestimated you never saw what was coming. They thought they were creating your limits. They were actually creating your momentum. They thought they were weakening your spirit. They were actually strengthening your resolve. They thought they were writing the end of your story. They were unknowingly helping write the beginning of your greatest chapter. Because when a person combines kindness with strength, patience with discipline, peace with purpose, they become something extremely rare. Someone who doesn't need to dominate others to win. Someone who doesn't need noise to create impact. Someone who doesn't need revenge to achieve justice. Someone who simply keeps growing, keeps building, keeps rising. And in the end, that quiet rise becomes louder than anything the world ever said about them. The most interesting part of your journey isn't what you've survived. It's who you've become because of it. Most people assume strength is built during moments of victory, when everything is working, when life feels easy, when opportunities appear effortlessly. But real strength is created somewhere else. It's created in uncertainty. It's created in struggle. It's created during those moments when nobody is clapping for you. Nobody is supporting you. Nobody is checking if you're okay. Yet somehow, you keep moving. One step, then another, even when the path ahead isn't clear. Even when doubt starts whispering in your mind. Even when part of you wants to stop. You continue. And over time, that creates something most people never develop. Inner certainty. Not arrogance. Not ego. Certainty. The quiet understanding that no matter what happens, you'll figure it out. Because you've done it before. Again. And again. And again. Life knocked you down. You adapted. People disappointed you. You adapted. Plans failed. You adapted. Opportunities disappeared. You adapted. The truth is, you've become far more powerful than you realize. Not because life has been easy, because it hasn't. Not because you've always been confident, because you haven't. Not because you've had all the answers, because you didn't. You've become powerful because you've learned how to keep going without them. And that's a rare ability, a very rare ability. Most people wait until they feel ready. They wait until they feel confident. They wait until fear disappears. They wait until conditions become perfect. But perfection never arrives. The people who accomplish extraordinary things understand something different. Action creates clarity. Movement creates confidence. Progress creates belief. You don't become fearless and then move forward. You move forward and become less fearful. And every time you've chosen growth over comfort, you've strengthened something inside yourself. Something invisible. Something powerful. Something that cannot be taken away. Character. Character is built quietly. Nobody sees it happening. Nobody applauds it. Nobody posts about it. Yet it becomes the foundation of everything. Your success, your relationships, your decisions, your future. Everything eventually rests on character. Because talent can open a door. Character determines whether you stay inside. Intelligence can create opportunities. Character determines what you do with them. Charm can attract people. Character determines whether they remain. And after everything you've experienced, character has become one of your greatest assets. You've learned the value of integrity. You've learned the value of consistency. You've learned the value of keeping your word, even when nobody is watching, especially when nobody is watching, because you reached a point where your relationship with yourself matters more than external approval. That's another level most people never reach. Many people spend their entire lives performing, trying to impress, trying to fit in, trying to gain acceptance, trying to become whatever version others want them to be. But eventually, you grow tired of wearing masks. You grow tired of shrinking yourself. You grow tired of pretending, and something inside you begins demanding authenticity. Real authenticity. Not the kind people talk about. The kind people live. The kind that says, "This is who I am. Take it or leave it." Not out of arrogance. Out of self-respect. Because you've learned that abandoning yourself to please others always comes with a cost. A heavy cost. Peace disappears. Confidence disappears. Direction disappears. You start living someone else's life instead of your own. And deep down, you know that's not why you're here. You're here to become the fullest version of yourself. Not a smaller version. Not a safer version. Not a version designed to make everyone comfortable. The fullest version. And that requires courage. The courage to be misunderstood. The courage to stand alone sometimes. The courage to choose growth when comfort is calling your name. Because comfort is seductive. Very seductive. It tells you to stay where you are. Stay familiar. Stay predictable. Stay safe. But growth speaks differently. Growth asks more from you. Growth asks for risk. Growth asks for discipline. Growth asks for faith. And every major breakthrough in your life has happened the moment you chose growth over comfort. Think about it. The strongest version of yourself was never created during easy seasons. It emerged during difficult ones. The moments you thought would break you, revealed you. The moments you thought would destroy your confidence, forced you to build real confidence. The moments you thought were the end, became beginnings. At the time, you couldn't see it. Pain rarely arrives with explanations. It arrives with questions, confusion, uncertainty, frustration. Only later do you understand the lesson. Only later do you see the purpose. Only later do you recognize how much you actually grew. And that's why your future is far brighter than you think. Because you're carrying lessons most people never learn. You're carrying resilience, awareness, discipline, patience, perspective. Those qualities compound over time, just like money compounds, just like habits compound, just like knowledge compounds. Every lesson you've learned becomes an advantage later. Every challenge you've survived becomes wisdom later. Every hardship you've overcome becomes confidence later. Nothing is wasted. Absolutely nothing. Even the seasons that felt meaningless were preparing you, preparing your mindset, preparing your character, preparing your vision, preparing your future. And one day, you'll look back at moments that once made you cry. And you'll thank them, not because they were enjoyable, not because they were fair, but because they transformed you, because they forced you to discover strengths you never knew existed, because they introduced you to a version of yourself that comfort never could, a version that understands its value, a version that understands its purpose, a version that understands its power, not loud power, not aggressive power, not power built on intimidation, a deeper kind of power, the power of self-mastery, the power of emotional control, the power of discipline, the power of vision, the power of knowing exactly who you are. That kind of power changes everything, because once you know who you are, confusion loses its grip, comparison loses its grip, fear loses much of its grip, outside opinions lose their grip. You stop looking outward for answers that already exist within you, and life becomes simpler, not easier, simpler. Your priorities become clear, your boundaries become clear, your direction becomes clear, your purpose becomes clear. You stop wasting years on distractions. You stop chasing things that don't matter. You stop investing energy where there's no return, because now you understand something invaluable. Time is limited, energy is limited, attention is limited, and anything limited must be protected. That's why you guard your peace. That's why you guard your focus. That's why you guard your future. Not because you've become distant, because you've become intentional. Every decision matters. Every habit matters. Every relationship matters. Every day matters. And when a person begins living with that level of awareness, their entire reality starts changing. Opportunities appear differently. Challenges appear differently. Life itself appears differently, because they're no longer reacting to life. They're creating it, moment by moment, choice by choice, step by step. And perhaps that's the greatest transformation of all. You no longer see yourself as a victim of circumstances. You see yourself as a creator of outcomes, a builder, a strategist, a visionary, someone capable of shaping their future regardless of what happened yesterday. And once that belief takes root, there's very little that can stop you, because obstacles become temporary, failures become lessons, delays become preparation, pressure becomes fuel. And every single experience, good or bad, becomes another reason to keep rising, keep growing, keep building, keep becoming. Because the world may have underestimated you once, life may have tested you countless times, people may have doubted what you were capable of, but none of that matters anymore. What matters is who you're becoming now. And every day that passes, that person becomes stronger, wiser, sharper, more focused, more disciplined, more unstoppable, not because they were born that way, because they earned it, one lesson at a time, one challenge at a time, one battle at a time. And that journey is only getting started.